Hi everyone, and I've got a very special treat today. We've got the CEO of a FTSE 100 company. Before I introduce him, let me give you some of the top numbers relating to the company, and I'll then give you the name of the company. They stock more than 650,000 industrial and electronic products, sourced from over 2,500 leading suppliers, provide service solutions to 1.2 million industrial customers, operations in 32 countries, and they ship around 60,000 parcels a day with revenues of £2 billion and a market cap just shy of £5 billion. At the start of 2022, their stock price was near all-time highs, and they employ some 6,800 employees. The company's Electrocomponents PLC. The CEO I'm going to introduce is Lindsley Ruth, who's kindly agreed to be interviewed on some of those aspects of the numbers. How do you build such a great company? How do you get into such a great company? And Lindsley, welcome. And Lindsley, tell me, first of all, by way of introducing yourself, how did an American such as yourself, who's educated in Texas, I believe, end up heading up one of UK's largest companies?
Well, thank you very much, Alpesh, and I appreciate joining you today. First of all, I came to learn about this company many, many years ago. I've been in this industry for a long time, and this company had a great reputation for many decades, not just in the UK, but around the world. So I was familiar with the company, and when I was recruited to come here, I knew a bit about the company. But once I met the board, and once I actually met some of the people within the company, I knew it was the right home for me, and I saw the opportunity that existed. And I like to say, you know, I'm more of an international American, I suppose, and I've traveled around the world, and I actually really like living in Europe and living in London. And I find there's great opportunity here. There's great innovation here, and it's a great place to be headquartered.
Well, let me touch upon some of those points, Lindsley. Now, the chairwoman of your company is Baroness Fairhead, somebody I'm very familiar with my Department for International Trade hat. And you've touched upon the UK being a great place to have headquarters and innovation. Speaking about the United Kingdom and your business and the exports, you know, I mentioned just a moment ago, 32 countries you trade and deal with. How, you know, what are your plans for the future? How do you go about expanding? How do you get that reach? What is the advice you'd give to other businesses who are, you know, several clicks under your business? And I noticed in some of the materials your team gave me, your company was a company of the year, and that's ranked amongst all the FTSE 100 companies. Just put in there also, how do you become a company of the year on top of all of that?
Well, I appreciate the recognition for you mentioning that. I think the first thing you have to do is not pay a whole lot of attention to being the company here. If you do, you become complacent, and complacency leads to irrelevancy, and that's what we want to avoid. So for us, it's a nice signal of the direction that we've been going in. It's a nice confirmation and affirmation from the investment community that we have the right strategy, we have the right people, and we're on this journey of greatness to go from good to great. So to get to where we are, we went from being an average company. At one point, we were really good and we lost our way. There are a variety of reasons for that, but we've become a good company again. I wouldn't say we're a great company, but that's where we want to be. So it's having that burning ambition. So I think for startups, for new companies, if you want to make it to the FTSE 100, if you want to be in the FTSE 350, it starts with a dream. It starts with a goal. And it starts with that aspiration, that inspiration to be great, to be good, and to eventually be great. And I think, to me, Alpesh, the biggest difference is, you know, most people fail to realize this. They talk a lot about it, but you've got to step back. You got to say, what are you willing to sacrifice to achieve your goals? So you got to think about, you know, your time commitments, what you're willing to put into your company to lead the company. What are you willing to commit in terms of your efforts around the world, your travel time? And I think those are all important things as a leader in the beginning to establish the right culture, because it all starts with culture. So I often say you've got to be fast to fire, slow to hire. Make sure you get the right people. If they're not the right people, then you need to move forward. But I think it takes the right people, the right culture, the right level of ambition. Make sure you really know what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're getting into, set the goals, and then execute to those goals.
That's absolutely fantastic advice. I particularly like the slow to hire and the faster hire part. Any other tips like that, insights like that, which have been critical and you think are critical to make your company great?
Well, I think, first of all, there's an element of humility that always has to be there. So we're never as good as we think we are. We're never as bad as we think we might be at times either, right? And so I find that often in the UK, people can get down on the UK, but, let's look at the positives of the UK. I hear quite often people talking about, well, the train was late today. Well, how late? 8 minutes. That's not bad. At least there's a train, because in the US, there's not a lot of trains. Public transit, I find very good in the UK. But as a matter of perspective, I think digital innovation here in the UK, I think is second to none across the world. I think there's great digital talent here where we're headquartered in King's Cross. There's an amazing amount of digital talent that exists here that we could apply across the world. So I'm very optimistic about the future as it relates to that talent that exists here. I would say humility is really important. Identifying talent is really important. I would say just some other nuggets of wisdom that I've learned over the years is, one, for us, we've got to be focused on, it sounds, a lot of people like to say the customer comes first, right? And I get it, and the customer is important, but your own employees have to come first, because if you want to offer a world-class customer experience to your customers, it starts by offering a world-class customer experience to your own employees. If you do that, then you can offer that experience externally. So it starts internally. And I'm not saying a country club environment, but having an environment that has high morale, high performance, people are very clear on the roles, responsibilities, that know the direction you're going in. So I think it starts with making sure that you offer a world-class experience at home within your company, that you are focused on the right things. And to me, it's about the triple bottom line. So people, profit, and planet. It takes great people to drive profit. The more profit you can make, the greater the difference you can make for the planet. That's the triple bottom line of people, profit, and planet. And if you have that in your mind, then you can make a great difference and give people a purpose for why they come to work every day.
That's absolutely fantastic. And as you mentioned right at the end that purpose, and we're seeing that more with millennials and Generation X, or whatever generation we're on at the moment, this notion of purpose. And I want to touch upon that. When I looked at your the investment decks, the investor relations decks, one of the slides mentioned 5 reasons to invest in the company. And one of those 5 reasons was 62% reduction in tons of CO2 since 2014, the ESG part. Now, that was listed as one of the 5 things. Now, I know from my years of interviewing CEOs, of course, that wouldn't have been up there 20 years ago, probably wouldn't have been up there 10 years ago. How important are you finding that, both for hiring the right people, but also in terms of what your investors and also potential shareholders in your company, what they're asking for in terms of what they want to see the company do?
Well, I think, first of all, let me say that the letters ESG may be relatively new, but our purpose of making a difference and making amazing things happen for a better world is not new. It's something that we've been focused on for a number of years, and we do want to make a difference. And we believe it's just doing what is right as a business. In years past, a lot of people relied on the governments, I should say, to make a difference in society, to make a difference for the environment, and they had to take the lead. I see no reason today why businesses cannot take that lead and work with government to define what the objectives should be going forward, and to work closely with governments around the world to make that difference, and to make a difference in terms of the workforce, to make a difference in terms of education, make a difference in terms of the environment. Those things are all really important to us because they're the right things to do. So I think for us, if we look at scope 1, 2, 3 emissions and what you mentioned in terms of the 62% reduction over 5 years, we started that not because it was a metric externally, or it was because investors are asking about it, because we felt it was the right thing to do, and that's why we did it. So for us, that is our purpose. It's to make amazing happen for a better world. Those aren't just words, we believe in it. And what's really important, I think, today, if you look at students that are coming out of university and you look at people that are new to the workforce, especially those that are emerging through the pandemic. Of course, the pandemic's not over. We might be saying that in a year or 2 years, but as people are coming out of this work from home or the virtual environment and the new ways of working moving forward are coming into play, I think it's more important than ever for a company to have a purpose. So it's where individuals' purpose intersects with the company's purpose that drives the engagement to a higher level. And if we can put those two together, I think, Alpesh, we have something quite remarkable and quite special.
Well, we know it's incredibly important for companies to do this, whether it's the environment or whether it's more broader social issues. But let me connect that up with another great figure that you've got on your investor relations documents, which is 24.7% return on capital employed. Now, the number crunchers, the accountants, the finance department will love that. How have you managed to achieve the broader purpose, which I'll have to tell you, I mean, I come from the hedge fund industry. We often worry that, listen, what's this going to actually cost? Because we're worried about the ROIs and the ROEs and all the rest of it. So how have you managed to keep the purpose and get such a high return on capital employed at the same time?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. So it's not one exclusive of the other. It's the greater we drive the purpose, and here's an interesting fact for us internally: the greater we drive the purpose throughout the organization, the greater the level of collaboration, the better the results tend to be, and the more profit we make, and the better our return on capital employed is. And as I say, and you mentioned your prior experience as a hedge fund, I would talk to you as if I was talking to an investor today, to say that you have not missed the boat in our company. And the opportunity still exists for us to accelerate our growth, to perform better. And we see an immense amount of opportunity and a sea of uncertainty today. So there's just a great opportunity around the world. We've got less than 1% market share in our market. Together, I think, with a common purpose that pulls us with a vision of becoming first choice to our stakeholders that drives us, we can accomplish amazing things on our journey.
Well, just touching upon that point, I'm lucky enough to have hundreds of thousands of followers who are largely private investors. When you wake up in the morning, what excites you the most about your company and the future? You've touched upon a bit of it there. Are there certain parts of the world? Are there certain divisions? Are there certain products, services which are up and coming? What makes you think, you know what, I'm sitting on something phenomenal and I really want to get this message out about this part of it? What is it that's the most exciting?
I think what's the most exciting for me is when I first started here in 2015, our greatest weakness was our ability to adapt. Our ability to adapt to the changing markets, our ability to adapt to volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, polarization. Today, I would tell you those are our greatest strengths. And so I wake up every day today, I'm excited. 7 years ago, I was excited, but I was excited about going to fix things. Now I'm excited about building things. And so when I wake up, I think about, this is going to be a fun day because I'm with amazing people. And we've got nothing but opportunity. And the key is how we execute and exploit that opportunity. So for me, it's exactly what you say. I was at a session yesterday where we talked about opportunities around connectivity and opportunities around the smart world and smart buildings and smart education. And just the amount of opportunity that's out there, Alpesh, is just so exciting. And what we want to do is make it for a better world. And you wonder, with all the advancements in technology over the last 50 years, all the technological breakthroughs, why is the world not a better place? And what can we do to leverage everything that exists to make a greater difference around sustainability, education, to make sure that students today have the skills that are required for the future? They have the digital skills, they have the technology, they have the equipment around the world, and that we give them the experience both online, virtually, and offline in classrooms. Those are all very, very important, I think, as we move forward. And so that's what excites me.
Now, you mentioned students there. And again, another part of my audience are people who are new to the workforce or, through LinkedIn, people who are moving up the career ladder. What advice would you give them, both specifically when they're looking at a company like yours, which, as I say, one of the 100 largest listed companies in the UK and a great brand name, all the way to just generally entering the workforce? What are the gaps that they need to fill in themselves, would you say, or any other advice you might have for them?
I think the first thing for students that are coming out today, I'd say number one is go into the workforce with an open mind, and make sure you're taking notes, make sure you're learning, and to take from Stephen Covey, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Right. So I think way too often I've noticed, I have two kids that are graduating from college now, and they'll sit in meetings, they won't take notes. And it shocks me. I know we're now in this virtual world, and they'll say we're taking notes on the phone, but you never know if they're taking notes on the phone or if they're texting or doing something else. But I think, there's an art to taking notes, and I still love to do it. And I would encourage people to make sure they're learning. I think second, I would make sure I think putting money as a priority is a danger. And students come out today, they might have student debt, college debt, university debt, credit card debt. You can get a credit card quite easily at that age. And I think for a lot of people, it's dangerous to put money as a priority. I think putting the opportunity as a priority and learning and engaging. And every student that comes out today, regardless of where they are in the world, I think has the gift of opportunity. But not every student is prepared to open that gift. Right? Some of them just stare at it and leave it and walk away, and others will rip into it and open it up. And every student has an opportunity. It's what they do with that opportunity, I think, that makes the difference in their success longer term.
Lindsley, I think what's really critical there in terms of what you said, it's not just the message, but it's the messenger. When it comes from the CEO of a major firm, I think it's going to resonate really well with the audience. Now, in closing, because sadly, I know, those return on capital employed figures are not going to generate themselves. So I've got to let you go. But in closing, another part of my audience, which I alluded to earlier, are entrepreneurs, as I mentioned. And within the Department for International Trade, I'm part of something called the Global Entrepreneur Program. We get the most outstanding technology entrepreneurs from around the world and get them to set up their global headquarters here in the UK. What's your message to those companies around the world, the scale-ups, so ones which aspire in a decade to be in the position your company is, those scale-ups around the world which we're trying to get to the UK? What would be your message to those tech companies from around the world to get them to get set up here in the UK?
Well, the first thing I'd say is nobody ever missed the opportunity that they did not take. So I think you cannot be so afraid of failure that you do not try. I do believe that too many companies abandon their priorities and they allow other people to influence their direction. I think entrepreneurs should stay true to their priorities, should be willing to adapt. But if they've got conviction in what they're doing and they know it's what the market wants or what the market will want and need, then they should stay focused on it. And I know it's a lot of hard work for a lot of entrepreneurs. We deal with over 100,000 startups globally in our business. And I do believe it's really important to make sure that we help encourage them to stay the course and we support them any way we can. But to set up business here in the UK, I think we're not competing anymore as individual companies. I believe we're competing on ecosystems. So for companies setting up in the UK, I believe there's so many different organizations that can help, whether it's Innovate UK, other organizations, Department of Trade. There's so many, Department of International Trade. There's so many different organizations out there that can help companies get set up. But there's also willing business partners through the CBI that can come in and that can help companies build out that ecosystem. So I would say, don't think you have to do it on your own. There are partners that are here that are willing to help and to assist on your journey to greatness, like us.
Absolutely fantastic advice. I could talk to you for hours, but I say your share price might be impacted if we continue talking too long, if the CEO's away from the desk. Lindsley Ruth, thank you so much, CEO of Electrocomponents PLC. Thank you so much for an enlightening discussion with us today. We've got more FTSE CEOs coming up. And I think, when they're sharing their wisdom, both to a global audience, as you did, and also to entrepreneurs, to people entering the workforce, and such a diverse audience, I think it's absolutely invaluable. So thank you very much for sparing the time and doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alpesh. And I'll just leave you with one thought. I love talking to investors, so buy shares and I'll talk to you every day.
Well, that's pretty good advice, and I know a lot of my audience will be taking that on board. I know from everything from TikTok to LinkedIn, I've got it covered with investors and investor questions every day. They've got a fair bit of firepower as well, actually, a lot of those. So I'll make sure they get that message. Thank you.
Thank you, Alpesh.